Welcome to Take a Wander with Ships. Now, my guest today is Justa Lujwangana. Our main topic of discussion was about Justa's business, which is Curious on Tanzania, the concept of the business and what you'd like to get out of it. All of that and much more. So let's take a look. Justa, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Very good. It's great to have you on. Just for people who don't know who you are, just explain a little about yourself.
My name is Justa and I am Tanzanian. I live 6 months here in Tanzania and then 6 months I do it in the U.S. I am a curious traveler. One of my goals is to visit every corner of my homeland. And reason being is just I want to find ways of how to share more about our homeland and also find ways of preserving our culture and also the beauty of the country itself. So that's who I am, and I love people. I love dancing. That's basically me.
Amazing. We'll come on to a little bit more about Tanzania because I really want to know as much as possible, because that's a country I am wanting to go to. So we'll come on to that. But I like to take it back to your early days on how it initially started for you when it comes to wanting to travel and the love of travel. So for you, where did it all begin?
So we have always been travelers. My mom came to the United States, I think she was 35. She left us when I was like 5 years old when she came to the U.S. And so after that, she was sending us to school in various countries. So I went to school in Uganda, which is like a neighboring country from Tanzania, but like that was still a journey in itself. This was like in '94 when I started going to school there. And of course, there was like a war happening. There was so much things that were happening between Uganda and Tanzania, but yet we still were able to travel and see the world, but also go to school at the same time. And from there, from going to school in Uganda at like 5 years old or 6 years old, and sometimes I would travel with an accompanied person, and I also lived with my grandmother, so I would travel to Uganda with my grandmother, and just kind of like be able to experience, but yet go to boarding school. From there, then I moved to the United States. I was at the age of 12. And coming to the United States is a whole different ball game. It's a whole different country. It's a whole different society compared to Uganda, compared to Tanzania, different languages. And that's also another way where I was able to pick up various languages from Tanzanian, various languages to Uganda to now coming to the United States and picking up English. And I came here, I was at the age of 12. I spent almost like 10 years without visiting or going anywhere. And then I was able to go back home to Tanzania. When I got to Tanzania, it's almost like I saw the whole different country differently. And of course, by that time I was an adult, and I was able to venture out more and just see the country just like how a tourist would see it, but also as a local. And so that's where my fascination started happening. It's like, what is in this one particular country? And I want to discover it on every angle, every side. So that's how kind of like my curiosity started out at that particular moment when I revisited my country and just saw everything all together.
Pretty awesome, actually. When you're young as well, by the way, and you're moving to, so for example, Uganda, and it's obviously, you said it was a neighboring country, and you said the language was different as well. Just adjusting as a young person, do you realize what's going on, or do you just go with the flow? Because I can tell you, when I was young, and because I moved around a lot when I was young, not country to country, by the way, but city to city, or place to place, I should say. You don't realize what's, because you're sort of swamped in, and it's, your parents will tell you this is going to be amazing, we're moving from here to there and stuff, but you don't, because you don't necessarily enjoy sometimes when you're younger. Was that feeling similar to you, or did you realize this is something that your parents were doing for the sake of their work, education, obviously then moving across to the United States?
it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm like excited to go to visit a different country or anything like that. This was my grandmother. My grandmother believed so much in education, and she wanted us, because she did not have like a proper education herself. She wanted her her kids and grandkids, and also future generations to have the capabilities of getting a better education. So when she had about this particular program from a Catholic school in Tanzania, like in our village in Bukoba, that they were taking kids to Uganda for schooling. I was one of those samples that, hey, go to Uganda and try out this school that's being opened and see how it's gonna work for you. So I ended up was sent, I think I was like 5 years old or 6 years old, to a boarding school. And so the first trip that I crossed over the border, I actually did not have a passport. They had like literally I had to walk across the border, like just kind of like a local, and sneak into the country and then wait by the bushes to be picked up by my guardian. And then I was able to cross over the border that way and then go to school. I don't know why the school never asked for passports or anything like that, but like for maybe like 2 semesters or 3 semesters, and the terms were probably like from like 5 months to 6 months, I have to stay in the school. And so I did that, I think probably like for a year or so. And then that's when I got my passport and everything became legal and I could enter in and out legally. But it's very challenging because like you have to take like public transportation and you have to happen from bus to bus. And I was only 6 years old. Like who would let their 5-year-old or 6-year-old do that? My mom was already in the United States. She did not know. My grandmother did not know. But like, they both wanted us to have a better education, and if it was like that was what for us to be able to get a better education, that's what they did. To think about now, if it's like my 5-6-year-old, I don't think I'll put them through that. But for me, I actually appreciate my parents being able to allow me to even have the opportunity to have a better education, and also don't let like the thing that I learned from it. Don't let regular life be like a limitation to what you could do. If whatever you're seeking, you just always have to push to the next level. Sometimes it requires some form of to be uncomfortable for a certain period of time. But when you look at the overall, the future, it even looks greater on the other side. So like when I was going to school in Uganda, basically it was like, we need you to learn English. We need you to have a better education. And this is why you're going. But my mother always promised us from a young age that she would bring us to the U.S. And this was just a preparation for us to get to the U.S. So for me, I was always looking at, like, okay, my mom is going to take us to the U.S. And I always told that to my fellow students every single year. I'm going to go to the U.S. I'm going to go to the U.S. And every semester I'll come back. They're like, how come you did not go today? How come you did not go tomorrow? Until when I was like around 11, 12, we left, we came back to Tanzania on vacation, and then we never went back to the school. And that's when we moved to the US. So like the journey, it was just because we needed education. It was like a necessity. That's why we commuted that there, and it wasn't like a leisure thing. And I did not understand what leisure and tourism was at that particular time.
In the United States, what was it like settling down over there? Was it how did you find it? Sort of moving across to a completely different culture, really, altogether than the African culture.
To be honest, I hated it.
Okay.
If I could say that.
Why did you hate it? Is it because of the fact that it was so different to the African culture? But in what sort of respect was it so different? Would you say?
So freedom. That's the one thing I would say. When I was going to school in Uganda, when I was in Tanzania, we were always outdoors, and I'm a kid. So we were always outdoors. There's a lot of activities to do. No winters, it's always summer. By the time I came, it was close to winter. So the cold weather, it wasn't for me. At that time, my mom, she was taking care of all 5 of us by herself. So we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment. And so we converted like our whole living room to become like our space to live in. And so it was limited space. When I was in Tanzania, I had like my own room. I had like my own, it's like everything that, like I had everything on my own. And then coming here and just kind of like, it's a dream opportunities or whatever the American dream, but this is how my American dream looks like. It was limiting. And yeah, the freedom. Language wise, I knew how to speak English, I knew how to write English, I knew everything, but my accent, and people and the students were able to pick it up and notice like I had this thick accent. So that was always something that kind of like differentiated me from like everybody else.
Did you have any sort of idea of what you wanted to do? Because when you look at your career now and the work that you do, it's called Curious on Tanzania. Just explain the sort of emphasis of what it is what it is you want people to get out of it when they apply to through your business.
So basically, what Curious on Tanzania is, it's an experiential travel company where it came out of my fascination for the country, but also the need to kind of share this world with like everybody else. So like for example, one like let me say this was like in the beginning of my journey. So like I found myself where I would leave like in the middle of New York City. Like one day, like today I'm in New York City and I'm looking at these big tall buildings, like let me say Times Square, looking at these big tall buildings everywhere. And then less than 24 hours, I'm in my village and I'm sitting next to my dad, and it's like mud, it's like the floors are like mud. It's like red mud on the floor. It's like if I go to my neighbors, some of them still live like very, very traditional, very, very locally. And there's banana trees all over. So for me, I saw that as an opportunity. I saw as like, it was, for me, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I could be able to live in multiple different worlds and still be able to function in all those worlds at the same time. And I felt like it was an opportunity to also be able to share it with whoever is interested, to kind of be able to understand and immerse themselves in that particular world. So that's how I kind of like created with Curious on Tanzania. It's kind of like giving that opportunity to people who are curious to understand more about my Tanzanian culture, but also for me, it's a reminder to keep on find ways of how to preserve like our own cultures, find ways of how to go home. Like my dad passed away last year, but
I'm sorry
for almost like thank you. But for almost like since I started doing my business, I left my job as a clinical dietitian probably like 4 years ago. But within those 4 years, almost like twice a year, I had an opportunity to go back to my village and see my father and just kind of hang out. Even if I'm working on my laptop, even if I'm doing internet works really great in my village, but like I am literally working there and he's like looking at me like, wow, my daughter came back. Like my daughter is still working, my daughter is still doing everything, but she's back here with me. And for me, quality time means everything. So travel gave me the opportunity to be able to be who I am and discover who I am. And I also want to help others to kind of discover this world that we so appreciated as Africans, as Tanzanians, so they could be able to understand us better. And you never know, even I've done various business opportunities for people where as long as we're here to help in terms of like crossing the gap or bridging, like building the bridge that allows people to be able to understand each other and move forward from there. That is the purpose of like Curious on Tanzania. And the way we do it is in various ways. So one, we do customized experiences for those who are interested in traveling in Tanzania. So like it could be there's some people who want to go on safaris, there's some people who want to immerse themselves in the cultures, there's some people who want to find a way of giving an impact, there's people who want to invest, there's people who want to just enjoy the beach, there's people who want to do so many things, just come and dance everywhere they go. So there's so many ways of how to see this one particular country, but I don't want to limit them to what they could be able to see. Just like how a lot of companies in Tanzania provide like safaris. So Tanzania is known for safaris and Zanzibar, but that's not the only thing that's available in that country. You could bring yourself, your personality, your career, whatever that you're interested in, and you could be able to find people who are relatable to that and immerse yourself in that culture also. There are people who are looking to move to the country. So there's so many different ways of how, and that's what we call the company Curious on Tanzania. It's because like you don't know what you're curious on until you start digging and searching. And the other thing that we also provide, so one product is customization of trips. The other, we do, what is it? It's called Zawadi Residency, which is a residency for creatives who are looking to work remotely and also travel slowly and see the country a little bit more slower. But yet they have work and they need to work and all of that. So they're able to join that residency and work on their projects, but it's also collaborate with different people and just see Tanzania as home. So those are like the various ways of how we work with when it comes to Curious of Tanzania, the way we work with people.
The type of customers you get, or type of people that want to come to come to you and say, right, this is what I want to do. Are we talking backpackers? Are we talking people who are looking to sort of get out of, a mundane job like 9 to 5, an experienced life? And how long because I read that you can do like a 3-week, adventure away, and and in terms of expenses, what are the the price, and things like that? Explain to me what that all involves.
We usually, since everything is customized, the client will be able to say, okay, so I want to do this and this is my budget. And that's how we usually go backwards. I don't provide like these big packages with like a big expense, but I listen to what the client wants and what is their budget. And then we go backwards and kind of plan it out that way. We have worked with like honeymooners. We have worked with various groups. We've worked with Tech Global when they were coming to Tanzania for their big conference. We have worked with colleges where they do like college tracks and like different businesses. We have worked with families. So it all depends. That's what I love about customization. It's like you can work with different people, and it's just with the understanding, knowing like this is what I'm interested in and this is what I want to see. And then we package them off that way.
What advice would you give to someone starting off? Because obviously living in the United States and then going back to Tanzania every for 6 months, I guess, the business model, making sure it works, it lasts. What's the key to its longevity, and what's the key to sort of making it successful?
That's the question I always ask myself, and there's always different answers. But I believe the key to succeeding in anything is being consistent. And for us, we chose to focus on predominantly Tanzania for a reason. And not doing like the whole Africa. Like I could have been like curious on the whole Africa, but it's such a big continent. There's so much to see there. And so even Tanzania, there's so much there. There's so much to see. There's so many things to do. So like we narrow it down and said, okay, we want to focus on one thing, which is one country, which is Tanzania. Now, when it comes to Tanzania, what is there? There's so many things that people could be able to do, but we want to focus on our client. What do they want to see in Tanzania? What are their interests? And so from there, we're able to customize to be able to meet their needs. For me as a person, where I have most advantage is I am Tanzanian and Tanzania is home. And so as an entrepreneur, sometimes, of course, a lot of us kind of like, you don't have the capital of where to start. But for me, my capital is also, you could look at it as trust. So like I went in the country and built the trust amongst people. So we are able to provide the accurate service. And so like capital is needed to start business, but sometimes capital might not be everything to kind of start you off from where you want to start off. So like resources, I use, I have like my uncle who has been in the business for almost like 42 years. So that is free advice, free everything.
That's the thing, you see. So you need something. So your own uniqueness is what sells the business. So it's you are the face of the company. So you have to make sure when you get custom that they see that, and they see the ambition, they see the authenticity, and using contacts, as you just said there.
Yeah,
that makes a business successful.
Yeah, and then it also depends. If you want to do, it depends on what type of business you want to have. It depends on how large you want it, or like how simple you want it. I like focusing on things. When you customize things, sometimes you have to kind of like, I like boutique. and I like focusing on people. I'm a people person, so like I could have did a company where it's like a digital platform and it's big and it's all of that and just kind of providing the services, or like I could have did something where it's very personal, relatable, and it all depends on what you want to do. And but like businesses also evolve. You could evolve it to, you could pivot and you could make it become whatever you need it to become, as long as um, your core ideas or core whatever your goal was stays kind of similar or the same, and you're not hopping from like, now I'm going into healthcare and then I'm
Yeah,
going into
absolutely.
this. It's like stay consistent in the same field.
When by the way, when you put down that people work remotely, is that working remotely with you guys, or do they do their own jobs? Because that's one thing I think couldn't get quite clear in my head. What does that involve?
Working remotely, that means we provide them the space and they bring in their work. So these are like, let me say, from artists to like people who work in the offices, but they could carry their work with them. Different creators, content creators. I had chefs coming in. We had like so many people who are coming in, but they want to connect also.
I can take my laptop with me and then say to you, right, okay, I want to do this now for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. You will provide me the accommodation and everything. But also, I think I read that during the evenings, weekends, you could go out and stuff and enjoy Tanzania as much as possible.
So that portion of that section of the business, yes, it's almost like that.
Would you say it's a bit like an Airbnb cultural experience in some respects?
Yeah, it's like an immersive kind of like, our focus is to provide immersive, authentic experiences. Um, and the way you do that, of course, you have to be immersed in the various cultures and you have to take time to be able to experience those. So we are here to kind of like provide those spaces for you to be able to do that. And authenticity, you could define it in your own way. It's like, hey, I want to go to a country and I want to be a part of it. And I want to immerse myself in it. So it could be defined in various ways. And you want to collaborate with different local people who are doing amazing work, and maybe that will also make your project greater. So like it all depends, and we're here to just facilitate. Tanzania is home for us, and we're here to invite everybody who wants to come in as guests and kind of be able to accommodate them as much as possible.
One question I have to ask you then is, what makes you different to like an Airbnb or a homestay, for example? I know you can do the exact same thing, go stay with someone in those places. What makes you stand out?
When it comes to the Zawadi residency specifically, that is when creatives come in, because I'm also like an entrepreneur, and also some of my teammates are entrepreneurs also. We have gone through the process of how to start a business, of how to marketing, or like we have so many skills. So when you come to like one of our residencies, you will be able to share those skills amongst each other. And that's the beauty of it. You could go stay in an Airbnb, but that Airbnb person might not be able to add more value to you and also kind of like share the knowledge that's needed to be shared. So we are here because we are all kind of like going through the same, and we're trying to create people alike so we could be able to share experiences and knowledge at the same time. So that's what makes it different.
Obviously, 2020 was a bit of a turmoil for a lot of businesses involved in the travel. For yourself, I mean, obviously it would have had an impact. Have you sort of had to sort of set back for, I assume Tanzania is actually open now for tourists to go in. I guess with the 2020 or what went on, how has it impacted your business? Where do you see it going in 2021 and going forward?
That is a heavy question. That's a loaded question. Of course, our businesses has been impacted very hard, but then Tanzania has always been open from the get-go. And of course, taking every precaution possible from the country level, from like private sectors. That's that. I can not talk too much about Yeah, but like Tanzania has always been open. So when it comes to like our business, because we noticed not a lot of people are traveling a lot, and that's when we pivoted to doing the Zawadi residency, or like the creative residency program, where we were allowing people to spend more time instead of like having this checklist of like, oh, I'm coming to Tanzania for 10 days and I want to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like a very, very quick 10-day itinerary. We ended up telling whoever was interested in coming, and they were working remotely and they had time to themselves. Okay, come to Tanzania, spend 3 weeks, spend a month, and travel slowly. Of course, it's more safe. And then also be able to work from there. So that's how we pivoted, and then we were actually able to get like a lot of clients in so they could be able to stay with our residency. And that's one of the things. It's like things happen all the time. It's just, as a business owner, you have to know how do you go about it? How do you pivot? How do you create a new product within within your core values? And so we have to be adaptable. And we have been adaptable for like a while. We have always been. So like it didn't impact us, but we were able to create a new product out of it. So that's how I kind of see it.
What can be done to help grow African travel and Tanzanian travel?
I think me as a diaspora, I think is the mission of the diaspora to be able to share the beauty of their home countries. That's just me. I just feel like every single diaspora from like everywhere needs to share more about the beauty of their home country and the benefits. So people are able to be, so friends of friends of friends are able to understand like, oh my God, there's this great location somewhere in Africa that I must visit. But like a lot of us, we usually are focused in our careers in school, and we always sometimes forget about home and advocating for our own cultural heritage and who we are. So just remembering that, and people being able to kind of share more about their home countries, it will help a lot in terms of like increasing like our tourism numbers.
And I want to ask you a little bit more about Tanzania as a country itself, because obviously we've spoken about the business and what you can do as a country. Because Kilimanjaro is in Tanzania, isn't it? You can go. Because that's one of the big things I wanted to do last year and didn't get a chance to. So everyone knows that is there. So I assume you get an influx of tourists coming to do that. But I'm sure Tanzania is more than just climbing the Kilimanjaro. So what else can you come and see in Tanzania apart from doing the hike?
Doing the hike. I love the hike. I usually do the 1-day hikes because doing it for like 6 days, that becomes a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will leave it for those who want to do it. But like the day hike is actually really amazing. You hike it with your friends, you get connected, you get like, it's a beautiful hike. You get to see all the wildlife around. And then when you get to that point on top, you have like this beautiful picnic dinner or lunch, you could say. It's beautiful. Of course, there's also the safaris. We have about 26 of our land towards game reservation. So this is one of the decorations that was done when we were getting our independence. Our first president made that as part of the amendments, I think, that we will preserve 26 of our land towards game reservation, and that was for the purpose of the future generation to be able to enjoy, and for us as Tanzanian to be able to kind of like benefit off that. So there's 26 different game parks, you could say. There's so many wildlife that you could be able to see. The lodges, the tented camps there, the luxury end of like camping is just beautiful. When it comes to Zanzibar for his history, the spices, the food, the music, the cultures. Overall, like when you come to Dar es Salaam is known like the urban area, the city. So like you could be able to, in one particular country, you could get back in time and then get to the modern life within like 24 hours. So you could experience how it is so crazy. Like you could go to particular villages and experience how people live the village lifestyle, and then you could take another flight and you could go to Dar es Salaam and you get the whole modern lifestyle of like New York City and like the whole shebang. You could get it all in one country, or you could just go on the coast and experience how the Caribbean is. The Caribbean times 100, I usually call it when you go to Zanzibar. So in this one particular country, there's so much. When it comes to like our cultures, we have 125 tribes and we speak almost 200 different languages. Swahili is our main language that we speak, and Swahili is a mixture of 72 different languages. The Arabic is mixed in there. Portuguese, Spanish, a lot of Bantu languages are mixed in. But the good thing with Swahili, you could go to any corner of Tanzania, somebody will be able to understand you without using a foreign language. Use Swahili, you'll be understood everywhere. And this is what brings peace to our home country.
Because you moved across to the United States, would you say your career or your life would have turned out the way it is now if you hadn't have moved to the United States? So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, a person growing up in Tanzania, would they have the same opportunity as what you've had if they went through education in Tanzania?
You know what? I guess that's why they call the U.S. a land of opportunities. Because it kind of like, especially living in New York, or like living in Brooklyn specifically, it kind of opens you up. It's like a melting pot. It's a melting pot of people coming from like different places around the world. So you get exposed to like so much all at the same time. And through that, you kind of are able to kind of see what is available and kind of be able to kind of find your ways. And it allows you to kind of be able to find your way instead of following that typical system. That if I was in Tanzania right now, I'll follow the typical system of like, especially like, let me say if I was in my village, it's the same routine of like, okay, you have turned 18. This is what you need to be doing. And this is where you need to be at. You need to be finished with primary school or secondary school, or like if I'm lucky to go to college, I mean, I would have, because my parents from the beginning wanted me to go to school. But the next step will be you have to get married and you have to have kids and your life is done. And that's basically it. But somebody wants me to tell you about the diary and the cows. When you're getting married, it's like a whole tradition where like the bride price or like the diary has to be given to like the women's family.
I think I've heard about this.
They study in India.
Yeah,
also, right?
They have it. They have it in India, don't they? Yeah, absolutely. So
like,
it's actually very, very similar to the to the Asian culture, where you were just talking about where you do your job, get your education, get your job, you get married, and you're absolutely right. It's very similar in Indian cultures.
Yeah, I feel like that will be my routine. I mean, that's also here in the US, but like you are, as a working person, you're kind of like exposed to so much and you could do so much at the same time. Nothing wrong with the other routes, but like I think that will literally be the route that I will have to take with no question. But like being in the US has kind of like exposed me to so much. I could be that and I could be extra. So it's not limiting me to only that. But then also being here, I saw the need. I saw the need of people wanting, or also the need in me wanting to understand my own culture even better, but also sharing that culture with others. Because like what my mother always says, it takes you going outside to really realize the beauty within. So that's one of the things that happened to us. Like even my mom is one of my best advocates when it comes to this, and she has always taught us to kind of know who we are and kind of like follow up with that. And so like even in our household, she has always spoken to us in Swahili. We eat our culture foods all the time. We know how to cook it. We know how to everything. Like I could go to my village and I blend in. Like I mean. Not too blended, but like I speak our local language. I speak like 6 different languages. So I speak our local language. I know the traditions. I know if I'm greeting an adult, how I need to greet them. Respect everywhere. So like I know how those things compare to somebody else. And so like coming to the United States presented me that option of kind of seeing what else is there and becoming the person that I needed to become. And that's, I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity, but I also appreciate being able to reflect my knowledge and skills back to my homeland. And that's the way I contribute to my country in my own way.
What does travel then, I guess, mean to you?
For me, it's a transformative experience. It's an experience where you take a leap of faith. Sometimes you don't know what to expect. You just want to go and have a good time, but within having that good time, there's a teachable moment. And so travel allows you to do that. Travel allows you to find out your deep inside self because you are in an uncomfortable place. Sometimes you're not in your normal places, and that's why I travel. I travel because I want to find out more about the various cultures, but I also want to tap into myself and find out more about myself and how I could be able to blend in with those particular cultures.
What's your transformative travel moment? What has it been?
For me, this is one of the things that I always kind of like remember. It's something that I learned when I was in Uganda, and it's a song, but I might not sing it. I'm like, I could sing it. I always sing it all the time. I might sing it. Wait. Okay. I'll sing the song, then I'll interpret it, right?
Okay, go ahead. I'd love to hear the song.
Okay. So the song goes, give me a second. Let me get my good voice in. So the song goes, Musanondigamba muchi kubenchanjivamu. Abange barijukira kochi kubenchanjivamu wawange. Okay, so the song is, in this world, what am I doing? In this world, how do I want to be remembered? In this world, what am I doing? So learned that song when I was still in Uganda. And that song has always stayed with me because like I want to do something on this world so I could be remembered, like doing something on this world so you could be remembered for something. And what is it? And we all have to find that. We all have that in us. We all have a story to tell, but we just have to find ways of how to highlight it.
And away from your work and travel, how do you relax then?
So my work and leisure time is kind of mixed in together. I'm a creative. But then I love dancing, but dancing could also be, it could turn into like a whole full blown experience. So like it's always kind of combined it in. I like running. Let me see what else. Dancing a lot. Bringing friends together, bringing creatives together, and kind of like talking. And trying to figure out what we want to do. It's not really work mode. Some people will think of it as you're always in work mode, but I think of it as like we are creating, and that's part of fun. So that's what I do for fun.
Oh, would you be? I don't know. Are you settling? Are you going to be looking to settle down, get married, maybe take it slow? I mean, what's the situation with that?
That is a good question. Definitely, yes. I'm looking to do that right now. But still, the way I've structured kind of like my lifestyle or my business and still be able to blend in at the same time. So it shouldn't be any issues with that.
Where do you want to see Curious on Tanzania go to in the next coming years?
That is a good question. So we are looking to see. So our goal let me see, to bring in probably like 1,000 to 2,000 people into the country. That number, it could be small for some people, but for us, it's a sweet number because like we are we do customized experiences, and we want to make sure we cater to everyone. The second goal that we are looking at, the project that we have in our village, which is my father, the property and the project that we have, and my mom and I are working to kind of build it. I want to actually kind of build it out to a villa. Right now we are up to, we have built it up almost like to a roof, but we need to kind of finish all of that. But of course, with funding and all of that, it's a little bit challenging. So I'm actually looking to do kind of like a crowdfund and to have like my fellow community members help us in terms of like finishing that home. And then it could just be open for everybody to kind of enjoy. But we are looking to buy more properties and building up the residency program even more in different parts of Tanzania. So we allow more people to do that.
getting people to believe in your business, investors, has that been a challenging experience?
It has been a challenging experience when it comes to like investors, but then the challenge is how do you want them to join in and how to invest? One of the biggest ideas which will take us a lot is of course tapping into technology and like building like an app where all of our experiences are available, but that will be more of a mass product that we'll be providing. So that will require big investors. With this other project where we're maybe like within the next 2 years is something smaller where we want to create homes so people feel comfortable to even when they come to our country, they're more comfortable and they feel like more at home. So that's like a 2-year project plan, but like a long term, definitely having tapping into technology and having like an app that will allow people to visit more places within Tanzania and even a little bit beyond Tanzania. But I would rather stick to just specifically Tanzania because it has so much. And again, our goal is to visit every corner of it and get all everybody involved within the tourism industry and kind of finding ways of how to empower local people by connecting them to the sharing economy in the world. So, yeah.
Well, Justa, I want to thank you for coming on again. I really appreciate your time, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Thank you.
A fabulous discussion with Justa, and if you'd like to use Justa's business, Curious on Tanzania, please do get in touch. And if you'd like to follow her as well, all of the details are on your screen now. That's it for Take a Wander with Shebs. I hope to see you all very soon. Until next time, bye for now.